So I'm 20 years old and I work part-time at a chemist. My main job is to support the pharmacy with packing blister packs with the medicines. These just help people keep track of their tablets and when to take them. I also assist with over-the-counter sales and assisting and processing prescriptions. I've worked there for over 4 years and I really enjoy it. I have a dog, that's Tiger. So he's 10 and very cheeky, and I'm a little bit obsessed with him. I live at home with my little sister. She's finishing year 12, so she graduated last night. She had her val and graduation. We're really excited for that to be over. And I live with mum and dad as well. So they both drive me insane, but I love them so much, and they're pretty amazing parents. My mum's actually on the committee, and she has been for a few years now, and she works part-time in the Fabry office. So before I was diagnosed, I was a fit and healthy child, loving life, everything threw at me. I really loved sport, life-saving at the local beach club, netball, cross country, anything I would give it a go. Today we're here to talk about Fabry disease. So living with Fabry's is hard, and some days it's harder than others. I was diagnosed at 10 years old, and it's a day I'll never forget. It was my dad's birthday, and we all piled into the small room. When I was told the test came back positive, all I can remember is feeling numb. I was young and I don't think I fully understood what it meant. But I saw mum crying and it started to sink in. In a way, I was lucky. I was diagnosed within a month or two of the first time I showed symptoms, but also unlucky because I knew the family history of the disease, and that terrified me. I was in year 7, so 12, almost 13, when I started getting excruciating neuropathic pain in my fingers and toes. I couldn't touch anything. Nothing could touch it. This resulted in the first of many hospitalisations at the Royal Children's Hospital, and for me that's about a 45-minute to an hour drive from home. We tried to find a way to manage the pain but had very little luck. I missed most of year 7 because of the pain. Starting a new school and trying to make new friends is difficult enough, but then you add in hospital admissions, weeks off schools and appointments, it's 10 times harder. But I was lucky to have an incredible class and managed to make amazing friends. Many of them I'm still friends with now. Because of the pain we couldn't control, I was the first child in Australia to receive treatment. But that's actually my first treatment ever. What I didn't know was the crazy few years I had coming up. So having to go to the children's hospital every fortnight was hard. Missing a day of school and needing IVs and feeling pretty crappy after wasn't great. I eventually had to get a port put in because my veins are so overused and flat. We'd spend half an hour trying to get an IV in. The nurses would call the doctors and anaesthetists because they just gave up on me. It got to the point where the nurses pre-called the doctors when they knew I was coming in because they didn't want to try. I've had multiple infections from the port and needed PICC lines to finish off weeks of IV antibiotics. I've had sepsis and needed multiple surgeries as a result. I've missed so much school because I was in hospital or I was sick. I spent Mother's Day, Father's Day, 17th birthday, my sister's 16th birthday, Easter, the list goes on as an inpatient. But my family and friends always made an effort to make it feel as normal as possible. Tiger has visited me multiple times in hospital, and that makes the admission more manageable. My dad, who works full-time in the city, would get up early so he could leave work and visit me in the afternoon. Even if his visits ended up with him snoring on my bed with the TV on and on the sports channel. Just him making the effort made the admission better. So I missed the first 2 weeks of year 12 and most of that third term. I think that was the hardest, trying to keep up with the insanely fast-moving content in BCE while in hospital bed. With fortnightly infusions came missed schools, messed up veins, but also a second family. I had seen the same nurses, doctors and other patients every fortnight for 6.5 years. That's Dad. Sorry, I forgot to press it. The nurses were incredible and they saw me at my worst, but they still made me smile and feel safe. They stood up for me when I didn't know what to do. I'm forever grateful for everything they did for me over the years, and the doctors the same. They saw me through so many admissions, pain crises, general admissions and appointments. This also showed me my real friends, showed me who I can rely on, who's always there, and I'm lucky enough to have an amazing group of friends who would visit me in hospital when I'm having treatment or just come over when I'm too tired to go out so I don't feel left out and miss out. When I was 18, I had to get used to the idea of moving to the adult hospital. My final treatment at the Royal Children's was emotional. I'd spent the full day there every fortnight for almost 7 years with incredible people. I celebrated my 18th birthday with them and watched them have kids of their own. I felt like one of them. The last day was hard. I managed to hold it in, but as we walked past reception, the tears started and I couldn't stop. I couldn't believe I wasn't going back as a patient. I think the scariest part of it all was definitely moving to the adult system. It's an entirely different experience. The first time I went to the infusion centre at the adult hospital, I saw what it was like, went to the bathroom and cried. It was not what I was used to. I'd gone from doctors and nurses I knew and trusted to a group of strangers I had to get to know. It also didn't help that I was the youngest patient there by about 40 years. My first overnight admission at the adults was the biggest shock. You no longer get your single room with your own bathroom like you did at the kids. I was put in a room with 3 men who were years older than me, multiple years. I cried to Mum and Dad that night in the hospital room. They couldn't stay, so I was on my own. I was feeling horrible enough as it was. I'd only just started antibiotics for the line infection and was waiting for surgery to remove the port and put the PICC in to get continuous treatment. I don't think I'll ever forget how I felt that night. But I'm lucky now. I get infusions at home with an incredible nurse who comes out to me every fortnight, and we work around both our schedules so I don't have to miss out on a whole day. The difference it's made is insane. So I graduated Year 12 in 2017 with the help of the teachers at the hospital, and I got accepted into nursing at Monash Uni, which was my dream course. I started full-time last year. I got 3 weeks into it, but ended up in hospital, so I had no choice but to defer and come back this year. I made the decision to try part-time, and it's been amazing. Just last week I finished my first 80 hours of the 800-hour placement requirement for the course, and I absolutely loved it. It was exhausting and definitely a challenge, but I couldn't see myself doing anything else. I like to think of me being a nurse as my way of giving back to all the incredible nurses and doctors I've come into contact with through my life. Just recently I got accepted into Livewire as a volunteer at the Royal Children's Hospital. For those who aren't familiar, it's a division of the Starlight Foundation that's targeted at teenagers. I spent a lot of time with them when I was a patient at the Children's, and I really got to know the facilitators and made some amazing friends through it. I'm excited to see them all again and to see the other side of this incredible organisation. My childhood wasn't what you could call typical, but I really don't know if I would change anything if it'd give me a chance. It's made me who I am now, and I'm stronger because of it. Thank you.